You see me twice in one day, you lucky things. So I'm Rachel from Twinkl Home Educators, and we're on a mission to interview as many different home educators as possible. Tonight I've actually got one of my colleagues coming on, so it's Amanda from Not Messy, Just Learning. I'm going to invite her on soon. But if you would like to be involved, let me know. Message me, Rachel, or the Twinkl Home Ed page, and let us know if you'd like to be join in, or if you've got any questions that you think should be included when we talk to different people. But I'm going to invite Amanda on now. Hi.
Hi.
Hello. Good evening.
I've caught the sun today.
How are you?
I'm all right, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, fine. I'm tired, but okay.
Yeah.
My kids were up at 5 this morning. So
Yeah.
it's just feels
Long
rough.
day. Yeah.
And thank you so much for joining us. So I'll tell everyone my mistake that I made when we so I interacted with Amanda on Instagram and talked to her there, and interacted with her on work chats and talked to her there. Did not put the two together until I literally was like, wait, hang on. So
it's the fact that I definitely could tell that you hadn't, and never really crossed my mind to say, oh, by the way.
Yeah, it's hard when people don't have their names come up straight away.
Yeah.
So then I just no, that's not messy. Not that that's Amanda. But now I've pushed you together now. I understand the wholeness of who you are. So I'm sorry about that.
That's all right.
So I'm going to start the timer. Oh, I haven't put it on. So we've got 10 minutes. You said you're happy to just wing it and see what happens. So if I throw out any difficult questions, then you asked for it. So here we go.
Yeah.
So time started. Tell us who you are, who you home educated, and anything you think we should know about you.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm Amanda. I've got 3 boys. One is 16 and in school. One is 7 and has never been to school, and another 3-year-old who, hasn't gone, isn't going. I used to be a secondary science teacher, and now write secondary science resources for Twinkl.
Am I right in thinking you're also a doctor?
Yeah. So I did a PhD in genetics before teaching.
Definitely should milk that. You should have Dr. Amanda in your
the only time I really ever use it is when someone says, is it Miss or Mrs? Actually, it's Doctor. And that's really satisfying.
Yeah, like that. So you've got one in school, one not in school and never been. And so do you think you're just going to home educate your third as well? Is that the plan?
Yeah, that's the plan. Yeah, he's not gone to, I think he's eligible for nursery now, but he's not gone.
So. My 3-year-old is that. I can't imagine the kind of mental load of having to figure out getting somewhere and coming back.
Absolutely. It just restricts your day, doesn't it? Absolutely.
And every time I'm like, maybe I should, it might be easier, and then I think I can't be.
Yeah. Well, so Ralph went to nursery for a little while, and you can't do anything in the middle of the day, especially, don't you find that home education things meets afternoons, don't they? Everyone gets up slowly and gets out of the house for lunchtime, so it would be really restricted if we then had to leave or to go and pick up from it's not worth it for me.
Because since before, I was trying to figure out why my community feels a lot better post COVID than after than pre-COVID, and I think it's because we don't do afternoon naps now. So it's not, which I used to be really strict about. I don't think I would be anymore, but I'd be like, we've got to get home for the naps. So by 1 o'clock we were at home and kind of missed out on a lot of the stuff that happened. So I think that's definitely true. Do you ever feel like you wish you'd home educated your first child?
Yes, and I mean he's been offered a lot of times since we were in a position that he could have stayed at home. We have offered, but he's happy at school and has friends there and wouldn't want to leave there. So they're interesting because there's lots of things that he's loved about school, but there are lots of things I see that I'm like, oh, that wouldn't have happened if you'd been home. But
and it's easy as well to I always think with mine this is happening because they're not in school, but I actually have no idea what it would be like if they were in school. And I'm like, oh, they'd have peer pressure, you wouldn't be able to like My Little Pony. I'm like, I don't know if that could be. I've just noticed my battery is low, so if I disappear, that's why. Fingers crossed we'll make 10 minutes. So can you sum up your home ed in 3 words? I ask this to everyone, and it usually takes up most of the conversation.
Yeah, well, so my 3 words were unplanned, messy, juggle. But I asked Ralph before I came upstairs, and he said fun, amazing, and great. And I think his are probably better.
Oh, I love that. Did you feel like, yes?
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. I'm scared to ask my kids. I might ask them tomorrow and see what they say. Oh, I like that. You do a lot of hands-on stuff, don't you?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. I think the kids generally say we want to know about this, and that's information that they can't access yet on their own. I couldn't just chuck a book or the internet at them, so everything needs to be hands-on. And I benefit from having tiles and wooden floor, so everything's just messy. Yeah. Everything can be cleaned up easily enough. And yeah,
you spend a lot of time planning that, because that's sometimes a bit with like child-led stuff that I struggle the balance of.
I don't plan. Really, okay. I sometimes think that my feed probably looks like I plan.
Yeah.
But no, I just have everything in drawers so I can grab it, and in the moment when they say it, I go, oh yeah, let's do that. Or I sit and think, I make a cup of tea and I think, what's the next thing? Like, what's the next step in this topic they want to know about? And then we just do something. So yeah,
it's amazing. That is a real skill.
I think
because of your background in science and so on.
I think it's definitely easier with sciencey stuff because I can just see it. But also I just have, I think stuff's just available. Do you know? So I can just pull it out easily enough, and I think that helps. Yeah,
I struggled in our flat with that because everything had to be packed away in such creative ways that and I would just forget that I had things.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, oh, I can strew things around and so on. It's really different. Yeah. Is there anything that it's clear that you love home educating from your feed, and also just when you talk about it, is there anything that you find particularly hard or a struggle?
It's just the juggle, isn't it? Because we've got 3 very different aged children, so they all need different things at different times of the day. So obviously the young one gets up early and the teenager stays up late. And then work and house, and it's just that you're always trying to figure out which thing needs to be prioritized, don't you? And
have you got any like tricks, or is it just like pushing through?
I think it's just what right now. I tend to do what needs to be done right now. One thing at the moment. And I think so for me, not planning means that I can react to how people are feeling in that moment, because you never know, do you, how everyone's going to feel when they get up in the morning. And I feel like if I plan too much, then all I've done is set myself up to not be able to do the things. So actually, I'd much prefer to not have a plan, and then react to the moment, what's important right now. That
makes sense. I think a lot of us who like to plan recognise that we're purely just doing it as a hobby for ourselves. And once you get the like, oh, this is like self-care for me, but it doesn't matter what happens. I was talking to someone recently about this. It's like, it's kind of like a comfort blanket almost, but then allows us the freedom to react.
I've got something that I can go to if I need it.
Yeah, exactly. I was just going to ask you about your home ed community, and do you feel like you've got a strong community? Is there anything you would change about the home ed community, or you think could be, I don't want to say improved, but it's always changing, the home ed community, and I feel like it's gone through a big period of change recently with COVID, and possibly another big change with different legislation that comes in, and I just kind of wondered your insights on.
I think we do have a great community locally, and I think it's really, really important. Sometimes you just need to say to someone, don't you, this is what's happening today, and you just need someone to understand. I think we were first talking about home educating, my concern was, will we see other people? And so when I started researching and finding Facebook groups and things, I was really surprised actually by how many people home educate. And there's nothing like watching a mixed group of children of different ages running across a park to remind you why this is a good thing to be doing, isn't it? Like always the moment when I'm like, yes, this is what I wanted.
That's exactly it. My nature group, when we're like, it's mainly mothers but are chatting, and then the kids are all off doing their different things, and there's little ones and big ones pulling each other up the like muddy bank. It is amazing. Absolutely. I also think it's funny in home ed meetings when you ask them to line up, if you've got those like teacher phrases and you say line up everyone, and like they're like what's that? It's like herding cats.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. So we have 1 minute and 50 seconds left. Is there anything particularly you want to talk about or that you feel passionate about? I don't have more questions.
No, not really.
So my question was, any advice, obviously community for people that are new to home education, but is there any advice you would give to people who are having those struggles and who maybe don't feel like they probably do, but don't have the skills to just react to things?
I think stop and watch would be my, I think you learn so much by just sitting and watching children play and listening to the conversations that they have and the things that they ask you. And I think I learn much more from just sitting and watching them. And I realize at the end of the day, one thing I do is just take little snapshots of what they're doing through the day, even if it's something that feels like nothing, and look back at the end of the day, and you can see all of the learning and things that have been happening. So when you get to that end of the day and you think, oh, we haven't done anything, I've not had a good day, I don't feel like we've done home ed today, and actually when you look back and think about everything they've done and think about what you saw, they've done so much. And I find that's always really useful as a reminder that actually
that's really wise. Especially if you've got, a lot of us have education backgrounds or childcare backgrounds, and you kind of, the culture is you've got to keep on doing things and just keep yourself busy. I think just generally the culture is as well. But yeah, you're right. I was sat having a cup of tea and I could hear my 4-year-old planning a scavenger hunt, putting different shapes all around the house, and the 7-year-old was taking the 3-year-old around, and I had no idea this was going on, but I just listened to them talking about, oh, that's hexagon, and things I didn't even realize that they'd thought about. And it was really heartwarming to just eavesdrop in a little bit, I guess, to what they're doing.
And it also gives you that 5 minutes that you need to sit with a cup of tea, because you're doing something useful. You're watching and observing and thinking, where are they at? What do they want to do?
Someone has just said, put a message, the time's up, but it is someone who said with their kid with autism, they feel a little bit isolated. And it said, but we try to meet up with people when you can, it's just not always up for it. Do you have any advice for when you feel isolated or any solidarity? I don't know.
It's difficult, isn't it? I think that most people that I have met in the home ed community are really keen to be really welcoming to children and parents with all kinds of different needs. And I would hope that if you speak to them, that there are ways that you can make places more accessible. As an example, one of our groups that we go to, recently some people brought a tent so that some of the children who needed their own space and time to be out could just go and be in the tent, and the other children realized or knew that that was their space. And so I think if you feel able to talk to the other adults around about it, then hopefully that there's something that you can come up with to help.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think that it's hard. I always want the answer now, and sometimes it takes time as adults to find your community. And we've been doing it home ed a few years now, and I only just feel like we've kind of got some of those foundations of community. So I think it does take time as well, which isn't necessarily the most encouraging, but I guess that you're not alone.
It's difficult. It's difficult as an adult, isn't it? Making friends as a grown-up is really hard. You can take the kids, and most of the time they'll just play, and you're stood around hi.
So are these your children? How old are your kids? Definitely true. Thank you so much for joining us. Time is up. I feel like I've learned so much from you, so I'm probably going to be messaging you a lot with lots of questions about reacting and
go for it.
But brilliant advice. Thank you so much. I hope you have a lovely evening.
Thank you.
Good work.
Yes.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.